Are we on?
Things start.
Yay, we're filming.
I'm Ian.
I'm Steve.
We're talking about the Downbelow RPG.
Specifically, we're talking about ways to hack the Downbelow RPG right now, and we're going to rapid-fire toss multiple suggestions until we run out of time for today. I'm going to start with a revolutionary suggestion that doesn't actually sound so revolutionary to some people, but actually serves to our purpose very well. If you find yourself strapped for time, strapped for effort, or even strapped for people's creativity, you can actually add a random element to this narrative to help make it comfortable for certain players.
Yes.
It is entirely plausible to turn this into a dice-based game. The original incarnation of this particular system actually had character traits providing dice that could be spent to make rolls that were only refueled on a failure. You could very easily reverse engineer this hack to say that every trait allowed you to add a die to a roll. Start with a base die type, whether it's a 6, 8, or 10. I personally like using D8s and D12s because nobody uses D8s and D12s very much. But the die type doesn't matter. You assign a difficulty number to most tasks. Usually one where easy would be a 50% chance success on the base die and a scaling up from there. Every player rolls one base die whenever trying to do anything, and they may exert themselves to spend their success traits when appropriate to add extra dice to this talent.
A suggestion, since this is for when you don't have time or creativity to do a full narrative description, and you just want to say, I use this to succeed, and roll for it. The way that you should probably go about this is say, all right, if you have a good description and you can fire it off quickly enough and the GM allows it, just use the trait and you succeed like usual. But if you don't have time to make a good enough description, but the GM doesn't think it's totally half-assed stupid, then the GM should let you roll a die and have a certain chance of success. And if you succeed, then you succeed and you use up the trait, and if you don't succeed, then you fail, and you can recharge a trait like any other failure.
Basically, this is, as I mentioned, right now this is a way to speed things up. Are you having trouble burning through successes with your group because your group is conflict-averse? Add dice, make them spend stuff to roll dice. You'll see those traits go down very fast.
So, if you have a large number of players, and we've mentioned this briefly before, but I'm going to give a detailed explanation of how to do it, then you will have the ballooning number of challenges you would need to make them face. We've mentioned two ways to handle this: giving them fewer successes, even though they have the same number of traits, and giving them challenges that require successes from multiple players. Detailed ways to handle those. For numbers of players over 6, you should take away half the possible successes. So, normally they have 10 plus 1, make it 5 plus 1 if there are more than 6 players. If there are more than 10 players, bring it down to 3 plus 1.
This will keep the rate of success and failure roughly constant. No, it's not quite scientific, but it's close enough, so you should still see a brisk, breezy storytelling pace while people are succeeding and failing. They're not necessarily succeeding and failing left and right, but you've got more people to spread them out between. This may require you as the GM to switch viewpoints between groups of players, as you might not have all 10 of them conveniently in the same warehouse space, so you will benefit from mastering a split-screen cutting back and forth storytelling technique.
The reason this does not scale directly with number of players is that I have noticed as a GM that the number of rolls that each player gets to make does not, in fact, scale down directly with the increase of number of players.
It's true.
It is, in fact, more of a, at certain breakpoints, the amount of GM attention required to give those challenges to the different players starts to degrade because of the tendency of splitting the party, etc.
And similarly, before we get back to Ian for more numerical guidelines, really quickly, one of the other reasons that it doesn't scale directly is because there will always be some players who are engaged less actively than other players. This is neither good nor bad. This is just a thing. Some people really enjoy the game, but wait for the opportune moment to shine. Some other people are averse to being front and center stage. They'd rather support. spreading it out like this instead of scaling it directly means that there will still be more successes to go around for when the characters and the players that aren't prepared to shine aren't ready to contribute theirs.
So 2 things for making multiple people spend their successes for the same thing. Number 1, no Wookiee translator rule. In the world of Downbelow, even if you are really close friends, you don't necessarily trust each other, make people spend successes to get the same information as each other in character. And remind them that their characters might well have reason to keep these secrets. Keep that as a factor in the story.
The Wookiee translator rule is a Star Wars reference because this is jargon we have not used before on the video. I'm going to real quickly explain it. In Star Wars, whether it is the West End role-playing game, which is where this phrase is initiated, or some of the books, Wookiees spoke their own language. You can see this in the original movies. Han Solo always understood what Chewbacca was saying, and thus, by extension, the rest of the group could.
Even though Han never took the time to say exactly what Chewie was saying, Luke acted like he understood it, even though he shouldn't understand Shriwook.
So, in the West End role-playing game, since Wookiees could never learn to speak the common tongue of the humans, there was a rule stating that as long as one character in the group present could understand Wookiees, the Wookiee player could speak plain English or whatever the language of the land was. But if that character disappeared for whatever reason, the other players simply couldn't understand them unless they also spoke Wookiee. This is assumed in many other games to be stuff like players are freely sharing information amongst themselves, so whatever one player discovers, as soon as they're together, all players know in a sort of bizarre hive mind situation.
So, part 2 is that you should look for opportunities to have different players shine together by saying that the thing that they want can only be unlocked by cooperation, because it would be possible to get X done with this one trait that you have, but if you combined forces with this other person, you could get it done at the same time. You should engineer situations to require it and make it make sense from the way you set up the situation. So, we have actually gone pretty long. Next time, we are going to continue on this topic because there's a lot to it.
There really is.
We're going to start off next time with the... what was the word I was searching for?
Sure.
Okay. What we just covered was ways to spend more successes and give people fewer. Next time, we're going to talk about having a lot more time in the game session. What if you've got a marathon session? Should you refresh traits and when? Thanks for falling through the cracks with us.